Yeah, just trying to do justice to, you know, this history of this music.
We caught you guys at soundcheck. You're certainly doing it justice. I mean, there's probably that weight on your shoulders to go, we want to keep this music alive and keep it vibrant.
I don't think we need to keep it alive.
No?
I think it's going to live on.
The records last forever,
Yeah.
but touching them live is something that's really important to help keep the records alive.
Yeah.
And it touches them and it transports them back. If we can facilitate those feelings for them, it's an honor to do that.
And I
You know
think
what
you're
mean?
doing it, but to me, I think there's something about the audience sees you guys doing it, the lineage there. I think it makes it more special. Like, you close your eyes, it sounded like the Allman Brothers when we heard you guys playing.
Yeah. We're not up here trying to outdo the Allman. No one will ever do that stuff as good as the Allman. It's a free spirit that runs through the music.
Try to tap into the spirit.
You try to tap into the spirit.
We were kids hearing these songs hundreds of times.
Sure.
So our urgency, if you hear a little bit of urgency with how we bring it, there's a little fear there.
Yeah.
It's like, we want to do this right, man, like, because they're not here to do it. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a song and I'm like, holy shit, you know, we're not little kids running around hearing it. We're the ones doing it. Like, oh, God.
Hey guys, it's Ryan and Russ from AMS. We're in Port Chester, New York at the Capitol Theater, checking out the Allman Betts Family Revival. We had a chance to sit down with Devon and Duane and talk about their guitars, their amps, their overall rigs, and the theory behind keeping the music alive. We hope you enjoy it.
Devon and Duane, really appreciate you
Hey,
guys
man.
coming on out.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So, we were here like a month ago with the almighty Warren Haynes. And,
Yeah.
you know, we got talking, and right out of the gate, one of the things that came right up at was the song off of his new album that he wrote with your dad, or actually it was lyrics, I suppose, from your father.
Right.
And he ended up going and putting it on his record. How much contact do you still have with Warren these days?
Just texted him an hour ago.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
So going back to your roots, I was reading something along the lines that your beginnings were around 13 years old.
Yeah, with me,
Yes.
I started at 13. I saw a neighborhood kid play. And it was actually the first, I didn't grow up, you know, I didn't meet my dad till I was 16. So I didn't grow up on tour or on the tour bus or anything like that. I had a real normal upbringing, you know, in the suburbs. And when I saw this kid pick up this piece of guitar and play it, it was the first time I had ever seen somebody play like right in front of me.
Mm.
And I just looked at it and I was like, well, I think I could do that. Let me give it a shot, you know. And that was it. I was 13 and yeah, I got lessons and they were really kind of lame. Mary Had a Little Lamb kind of. I was like, no, I want to play Aerosmith and shit, you know,
Yeah.
Zeppelin. And so I started ditching the lesson and going to the back of the store and reading the tablature out of the guitar mags, spending the money on the mag.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know, it was wild. I think it was about a month later, my mom was like, hey, come in the living room and play me what you've been learning at those lessons. And I played like something pretty cool. And she was like, she taught you that? You know, the teacher her name was Marge, and she looked like Steven Tyler. and my mom was like, wow, Marge is really good. And I'm like, well, and I broke it down. I said, I've been ditching and reading the magazines. And 20 years later, to the month, I had my first ever guitar magazine feature in the same magazine, which was just a weird,
Yeah, it's pretty
really
wild.
weird, surreal, cool thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So with both of you guys, though, when you started up, I know you had like influences with metal.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I was more curious about, do you see that influencing any of your musical journey as where you are as players even now, today? Because obviously the style of music is very different.
I mean, I went through a pretty heavy metal phase heavy metal phase for a couple years, and then I got really into Nirvana and Soundgarden and Smashing. I was a huge Billy Corgan fan when I was 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. I mean, Billy Corgan, and I was listening to all the other stuff, the Clapton and Jimmy Page and all of those guitar players, and discovering blues players and discovering jazz and kind of getting into all that stuff too. But I was really into the music of the time, which was, I was a huge Pumpkins fan and all of that stuff. But I was really into Metallica and Iron Maiden when I was in like 5th, 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a drummer then. Okay. So I was playing for hours a day with my headphones on, to Iron Maiden records, and I was playing to the Who, Tommy from the Who, and I was playing to all these records, and Nico McBrain was Brian or Brain.
Yeah,
I think it's McBrain.
Yeah,
McBrain.
I mean, Lars Ulrich was my hero at the time, know, and then I switched over to guitar, and when I switched to guitar, I was kind of out of the metal thing. Like, I was kind of more into the Pumpkins and Alice in Chains and all that stuff. So, I mean, we all have a healthy respect for just all the classic.
Sure.
Shit, I mean, whether it's the grunge stuff or the metal stuff. So, me and him and Johnny, the other guitar player in the band, we all are about the same age and, kind of have a healthy respect for all of that stuff. But doesn't really influence, Testament doesn't really influence my.
You're not going to sneak that in tonight, maybe a little practice what you preach or something?
At soundcheck, we will.
Okay.
At soundcheck,
well, I mean, because you see guys like Zach
Oh.
Brown, they'll do like, Enter Sandman or something like that, because, they're like, well, it's still music to them,
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be what they're stamped as.
We'll play, we'll get into stuff at soundcheck sometimes, Just depends what kind of mood we're in,
But it's funny, too, because you mentioned some of those bands. Obviously, when we're talking Allman Brothers, too, that classic two-guitar attack, the harmony guitars. And you think Maiden, you think Metallica.
This is true.
There's a lot of that lineage.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thin
Lizzy, so.
Absolutely. Thin Lizzy.
Right.
It kind of got passed to them, and then, yes, absolutely.
So it's kind of
Iron Maiden is the Allman Brothers of metal. We've said this before.
We've had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's probably true, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Zoom call with Merck Mercuriadis from Hypnosis Music. Told me that the last time he saw my dad was at an Iron Maiden show.
Greg Allman went to an Iron Maiden show.
Yes.
Wow.
He did, which is incredible. Iron Maiden was signed to Sanctuary Music, and Allman Brothers did a little dance with Sanctuary for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, come on down to the show." And my dad watched the whole show from the soundboard. Yeah.
That's pretty badass. Who'd have thought? And people are like, that guy looks like Greg Allman. Like, yeah, it probably is.
And I was like, "Man, Merck," I was like, did he dig it? And he was like, not my cup of tea.
I can't imagine him digging that.
But like, they're really good. Like, he was cool.
He acknowledged
it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So tonight with the rigs, let's start with, I know we're sitting in front of pedals, so we might as well talk a little bit about pedals.
Sure.
See, there's not a pedal board on this that has any monstrous size to it. Everything's relatively small.
I don't really have any pedals. I have a tuner and a King of Tone boost, and that's kind of what it's very minimal. That's kind of what I use for this type of thing. All of my favorite guitar players that played in like Warren, when he does Government Mule, he has a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When he does the Allman Brothers, he doesn't have anything. Derek, all of those people that are kind of the guys, I mean, obviously Duane and my dad didn't use anything. I mean, my dad might have had a wah pedal and used it on a couple songs a night, but they didn't really use anything. So, yeah, I mean, I like using some of that stuff when recording and if it's necessary. But for this, I don't need a bunch
Well,
of stuff.
he was saying he has a stockpile at home.
Yeah. I mean, with this tour that you're catching us on the Allman Betts Family Revival is a celebration of the songbook of our dads. So, you bring the tools for the job, right? And if the amp would do what my Klon does, I wouldn't even have the Klon. That just takes what you have and makes it a little ballsier, a little more oomph. When I'm on a solo tour, I have a wah and a delay for a little tail and a little chorus or a univibe, little fun tricks. But for this, it's it's all
is the way to
tone.
go.
It's tone and feel, and just trying to do justice to this history of this music.
I think it's safe to say, I mean, we caught you guys at Soundcheck. You're certainly doing it justice. I mean, there's probably that weight on your shoulders to go, we want to keep this music alive and keep it vibrant.
I don't think we need to keep it alive.
No?
I think it's going to live on after we're dead. I don't think
it absolutely will.
I think it's good to celebrate it, and there's a responsibility to celebrate it, and the fans love it. But if we didn't do this, I don't think you have to worry about it.
The records last forever,
Yeah.
but touching them live is something that's really important to help keep the records alive.
Yeah.
And it touches them, and it transports them back to when they were 21 years old, or and those kinds of things. If we can facilitate those feelings for them, it's an honor to do that.
And I think you're doing it, but to me, I think there's something about the audience sees you guys doing it, the lineage there. I think it makes it more special. There's a lot of bands that are obviously influenced by your dads and that whole band. I mean, it's an entire genre unto itself. So you're right, that music will be alive, but to see the bloodline keeping it alive and how well you're doing it. I mean, you guys, it sounds to me like when you were learning to play, you were like, I'll try anything. And then somewhere in the line, you were able to just tap into it, and it was like, it sounded like, you close your eyes, it sounded like the Allman Brothers when we heard you guys playing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Like, you don't even have to try.
It's not just us. It's everybody around us.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And everybody in the band has a very astute knowledge of and respect for that music and that approach and what they did. You know, I mean, John Ginty on the Hammond. I mean, he can play whatever. But I mean, Greg is his guy. I mean, Greg had a very specific, he just told me once when I was little, he goes, it's all about putting the gravy on the mashed potatoes, and like he had a very specific kind of approach, and it was right in there, and it was just clutch, man, and that was his thing, and Ginty knows that. He knows that thing, and he doesn't paint over it with a bunch of unnecessary colors.
Sure.
I mean, he does his own thing, but it's really there's a really healthy respect.
And I think that's where you nailed it. It's that there's so many people that are so technically gifted, but in terms of nailing the flavor and the feel of it, I think that's the heart. That's when you become a musician.
Without making it be like
aping it.
A machine where it's like, it can just be an interpretation. Like, we're not up here trying to outdo the Allman. No one will ever do that stuff as good as the Allman. It's an interpretation, and it's a free flowing, it's a free spirit that runs through the music.
Try to tap into the spirit.
Try to tap into the spirit.
We were kids hearing these songs hundreds of times.
Sure.
So our urgency, if you hear a little bit of urgency with how we bring it, there's a little fear there.
Yeah.
It's like, we want to do this right, man, because they're not here to do it, and it's an honor. It's an honor to sometimes I'm in the middle of a song and I'm like, holy shit, we're not little kids running around hearing it. We're the ones doing it. Like, God.
I mean, we do this tour for 3 weeks a year. This is an annual tour in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks out of the year that we do this, and we have a lot of guests besides our core band. And there have been nights on this tour where I'm in these venues that I grew up at, like the Orpheum in Boston. We were there last night.
Yeah.
And I was there when some of the songs that we're playing from that 90s era are on records that I was at. We were at those shows when those songs were brand new, had just been written, had just been recorded. And I was 15 years old or however many years old at that venue. And I'm up on stage playing a song that I've never played with. Maybe I played it twice with my dad. It was a song that when I played with my dad's band, he didn't even do it. So I'm in the Orpheum playing this song that I was the last time, and I'm like, wow, I saw them play this here, and haven't really played it since I heard them play it. You know?
But that hits you. You feel the weight of it. Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Very heavy. Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing, you know, and it goes without saying, I mean, we do a ton of other, you know, we don't want to make a career out of, you know, paying trip, but it's it is truly an honor, you know.
I've
it
heard
really
you equate
is
it to the Last Waltz, as far as like not the intent, as much as the approach to the band members that you have
to the
coming
construct.
in.
Yes,
the
there's a bit of a house band, and then after a couple numbers, it's welcome to the stage, Jimmy Hall, you know, and we kind of go through a thing that it's really wild that I kind of fell in love with that. I was late to the party on that one. I should have had that in my, you know, I should have been in love with that record and that film for a long time, and I was late, but it was right around the time when we put the first one together, and I was like, well, that's like, what a beautiful construct for that, you know, kind of evening. Because this is I mean, there's 30 musicians on this tour.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving parts, man.
That must
you
keep you
know?
on your toes, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, like, I mean, the transitions and keeping it smooth.
Gives us a break.
And like, you know.
Every now and then.
But I mean, that's, you know, it's like it's a traveling, it's not just one band, you know, going town to town. It's a band with like 11 guests and, you know, fitting them in and making sure they get enough time on the stage and they're featured and they're paired up with the right song. Like before we go on the tour, I almost feel like a casting director, like who's going to do the best Melissa this year, or who's going to really connect with the song. And we've had a good
auditions,
you know.
You were so
we're like, okay, you want to do that song? Okay, let's see what you got.
Sorry.
All right, next. No, I'm just joking.
But it's cool. Like we have a good batting average with it. You know, everybody's open. You know,
everybody does a fantastic job.
Yeah,
even the people we don't like.
But it's funny because and this is a good lesson for all the kids out there, but I notice how both of you guys, it's like you check your ego at the door and you go, we know when not to play. We know when to step back and let someone else take a solo, to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean...
Because you could assert yourself all over the whole program.
We do assert ourselves. I mean, we're playing a lot, and as we should, but there's still... It's a really long show, so there's still time to really... take a back seat. But yeah, there's times where I'm like, man, I feel like I've played enough. Okay, one more. All right, let me figure out something more to play. And
but do you keep the same kind of core group from year to year in that, like, what's the rehearsal look like leading up to the tour?
There's been a couple of the musicians that have been here every year. Jimmy Hall, Luther Dickinson, Cody Dickinson. But after that kind of core around our core, we switch it up every year. Rehearsals are typically nowadays, they are just our band, our core band.
Okay.
And then wherever we start the tour, we make sure we have like an extended sound. And plus these musicians we have with us are world class. So they come, they've already done all their homework. They've woodshedded, they're ready. So when they come up on the first day's rehearsal, you know, we run it once, maybe twice if they need it, and it's off and running.
What a luxury.
It's pretty good. Now, 4 years ago, we'd bring out Jimmy Hall and we'd do a Jimmy Hall song and then we'd do an Allman Brother song. And the set kind of got wonky stylistically. And one night we were forced to make a decision. We only had a 2-hour window.
Yeah, what do you cut?
And Duane and I were like, well, let's just do all Allmans tonight. And it was the first time we had actually done that.
Okay.
All.
Okay.
And it went over so beautifully. And it's like, wait a second, this is what we're doing. We got to do this from here on out. And that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
so that's kind of a fairly new thing.
And when we were doing the guest songs on top of it, we were having to get 4-hour windows to play. Sometimes they were 4, 3.5, like an intermission, an encore.
Like a festival,
when you add it all up, it was like, yeah, the drummers are like, you guys. Yeah.
Changing drummers 3 times. So guitar-wise, just coming back to
just a second.
I'm definitely curious.
Sure.
I think we're talking like prototype, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I have my dad's #1 prototype out with me, and I love that guitar. I've played it a lot. He played it a lot, and it's the one that I feel most comfortable traveling with. I have a 335 that probably a 61 335
Thoughts?
that is, I mean, it sounds, I'd just be,
It's
it
another
sounds
animal.
better
I'm sorry,
than
is it a
the,
real
Okay.
61 or
It's-
is it a custom shop?
oh, it's a real one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
that
one that
stays
my
home.
dad had, that he played in the mid 90s. And that guitar is hard to sound find a better sounding guitar, excuse me. But yeah, I don't have it out with me.
But that we were looking at that gold top. It looks like it was rode hard, put away wet. I mean, it's beautiful. You could see that there's genuine sweat equity in there.
It's aged, but
Yeah.
it's also a lot of
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the scars or bruises are real too.
Mhm.
You know?
And the little touches that he had there with the belly carve and a couple different
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
could. I'm sure your father was pretty specific about.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to just slap my name on it. I want it to have the right touch,
Yeah.
and it sounds amazing. We're taking it with us, by the way.
Ah,
Feel free.
Thanks.
Um,
We got
just
others.
leave me a
7-figure check.
leave me. Yeah.
Are you doing a like number one? I think you call it.
I left it home. Yeah. I sat with it and the Murphy Lab that Gibson sent me a couple years ago. And kind of beat them, and they're both really sweethearts, you know. But I haven't given enough time to that Murphy Lab, and I'm really glad I brought it out.
So is it a 59?
It's like a 59. You know, the killer. You know, they have the 4 different levels of
This
the
is
Murphy.
an 11A top. I
This
looked
is
at
the
it,
top,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
it was a gift from Gibson 2 years ago, and so it's just now breaking in, and really love it. Yeah.
What if you had to articulate it about custom shop guitars? Because if you
Yeah.
play a Gibson custom shop, or even versus a standard, or name the brand,
Yep.
I think that there's absolutely something to be said for the custom shop feel and fit. What is it about
There
that
is
custom
a
shop?
remarkable difference between studio standard, custom shop, Murphy Lab. Across, you can feel it at each step. Those Murphy, I mean, the thing about like a brand new custom shop, you know, what are they, $7,000 or $6,000 or whatever? They're gorgeous, but they feel stiff. They feel new. You got to play that for 5 years, right? Those Murphy Labs are like, they're out of the bag. Like, it's unbelievable. I love them. And I mean, I've played real 59s plenty of times. I know what they feel like. And that's the closest thing.
Yeah.
And they just nailed it. Like I think they're doing the best work that they've done since, you know, the glory years, without question.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I mean,
I like truly.
the problem
you know?
for us is, I mean, the same thing. I mean, you guys are lucky enough to actually work with the custom shop. I have custom shop Gibsons, and I have USA stuff. And once you get to that level, you can't go back. It's hard to try. And I'm not knocking the USA
you can make
stand.
any
They're
guitar.
great, but
You can make any guitar sound good.
there's something there, though,
Yeah,
in terms of
but-
the feel.
and that is the
Yeah.
sound versus the feel. So the audience
Yeah,
here, whether you're
sure.
playing the standard or the 59, may not be able to tell that difference. But from the player perspective, if I give each
Yeah.
one of you that, you're going to pick that up. And it's going to probably deliver a different feel to the audience because
delivers
you
confidence.
feel
It
different.
delivers
Yeah.
confidence.
Yes.
That's it.
So when your
Exactly.
tone is there, then you can
Yeah.
take off, you know?
Yeah, well said.
I mean, I've played old ones that, I mean, you know, I can tell. I mean, I wouldn't say that gold top sounds like a real one, but having said that, I mean, it's a great sounding guitar, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
not bringing a 59 or 58. I mean, I'm not bringing.
I played
a
some
real one out here,
59s
but-
that were dogs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
definitely
Like-
bad ones every year. But I think, too, the fact, like you're saying here, it's a pretty bare bones setup. You need a great guitar into a great amp, lit up, and then you let these take over.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
what you have
pretty
to do.
simple. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, constantly on the volume knob with this stuff, and I mean, my amps. That's actually my number one. Is we just sent them off to be. It had a tube that needed to be replaced, so we sent a few amps out. That's my number 2 amp. It sounds healthy, but I do like the other one better.
What is it?
Well,
What would you
fill us in,
articulate?
too. What
Yeah.
are you playing? What's your number 2? A lot of amps.
That's like. Well, that one,
Super reverb
it's
check?
like a 65 or 66.
Reverb
George Alessandro went through it a few months ago, and it's all, they have it sounding great.
He seems to be the guy. I know Derek Trucks uses
But the other one I have
Alessandro
is
too, yeah.
actually one that Derek had that Derek sent to me about 6 or 7 years ago.
But there's a very specific sound to it. It's overdriven, but it's so clear and smooth, and it's such an identifiable sound. I don't know how you get that, but it's there in spades. It's not a pedal. It's a great guitar into a great amp.
I like a bell. I like a nice bell tone, you know.
Mhm.
I like it bright, but not, I don't want it ice picky, but I want it bright. I want it cutting through the band. This is a big band.
Mhm.
So sometimes you get it, you know, you don't want it to sound muddy, but then sometimes I'll hear it and I'll be like, ooh, that's really bright. I could turn it down, you know, if I hear a tape or something, or a recording.
Mhm.
But, you know, I like to just get it breaking up, a clear note with it breaking up around the edges. And then if I want to hit that, then it just gives it a little more. But
Sure.
it's pretty simple. It's all kind of just a very natural, pure guitar amp thing, you know.
It's a glorious thing.
What about your amp for the evening?
Mid 60s super as well. I mean, all I ever want for this type of tour is something that has some shimmer, but also buttery, you know, a real, you know, not gainy. And like Duane said, like nothing too bitey and nothing too dark.
Sure.
It's that sweet spot you're really trying to find, like Warren Haynes has mastered over, you know, most people.
Sure.
I think that's the gold standard for this music. I think that's, you know, what I always try to bring is just something with body that's got some finesse, some butteriness to it, but also
We got butter, we got
Brings it.
gravy, we
I
got
know,
mashed
yeah,
potatoes.
it's better
Let's-
used to describe it.
Glad we had tacos.
Yeah, right.
You're
before
like
this.
cooking, right?
Yeah.
Milky.
well, you know,
Milky's
when we're
there,
on
yeah.
stage, we're trying to be
Liquidy.
cooking.
Crunchy, yeah. So when you guys are doing your own thing, where it's not the almond, like,
Yep.
what kind of flavors do you go from here and you go, okay, I've had enough of that for 3 weeks. What would be the first thing you might do when you're on the road and you go, I'm going to switch it up and just do something different, or do you still incorporate a lot of what you use here on your own
I
stuff?
would use the same setup. I would probably, I mean, like I just did a solo record and you know, there's some stuff is added, you know, that's not pedals, obviously, that I have, you know, like slapbacks and stuff like that. But like, you know, I don't, typically I play relatively, I use the same approach. I don't change my approach. I don't, I go for this, I have the same sound. I just am playing different material, really,
Got it.
you know.
Yeah,
Mine's pretty drastic.
is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, same amp and still the same kind of goal, like a good tone. But I just did a funk infused record
Miami Moon.
Miami Moon with George Porter Jr. on bass and Ivan Neville and Adam Deitch. And on this last solo run, it's Strats, it's wah, it's you know, I just want something super quacky and like, you know, classic. And then when you go to rip a lead on Strat, you want, you know, you're aiming for more of a Hendrix, you know, kind of thing. So it's nice because then when I kind of come back here, it's like, oh yeah, there's this. And then it's a whole other character for our band, Allman Betts Band, because Duane and Johnny Statula, you know, with SG, Les Paul, humbuckers, it's like, wait a second, you know, I need something that's just going to kind of hang out there and kind of fill in some of those little holes. So I'm a P90 player in those, in that configure in that band.
Yeah, Miami Moon, by the way, is a great album.
Thank you,
and you
kindly.
You wrote that on bass, though,
I wrote
right?
it on bass. Yeah.
Wow.
How do you do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah, I just
I don't know. I just sat in the back of the bus I bought a bass and I bought this really great compact, I forget the name of it.
Spark?
This bass amp.
Oh,
no.
no.
But I just sat back there and I just
Phil
thought
Jones?
if I had good bones, that it would I just wanted a record that would make people kind of feel good.
Shake
It was like right post COVID.
Nothing
Yeah,
wrong
like
with
shake
that.
their ass, you know,
Yeah.
get up. And I don't know. I love James Brown. I love Curtis Mayfield. I love all that. And
Yeah, for sure.
it was time to kind of make something with that vibe. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming up, we're closing out a year and heading into another one. What do you guys, as we're wrapping, you know, have projects coming up post revival in the new year? I think you have Experience Hendrix, if I'm not mistaken, in springtime-ish.
Yeah, I've got that. And then a summer blues tour with some all-stars, and we're doing cutting a blues record.
Cool.
So it's nice to get back to some blues.
Nice.
So, I just did a record with Dave Cobb.
Oh, he's awesome.
So yeah, I'm gonna put that out sometime next year, and I have kind of taken it easy for the next few months. We have a cruise actually. We're doing the Big Easy
Forgot about that.
cruise.
That's right.
Good problem. Forget about it. Yeah.
So, we got that, and then I'm kind of just chilling for a couple months. Finally have a couple months off before I hit the road
That must
again.
be a weird feeling.
I mean, kind of. I mean, I don't have it yet, so
Okay,
we'll
well,
see.
we'll
I don't
see.
know if it's gonna be weird.
It's
Am I-
great though, because the time off really feeds the next thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like by the time you get done with 2 months home, you're
You
like,
need a
Yeah,
break.
you're
dude,
like, I'm
get
ready
me
to go
out
out.
of here. Like, get me out
on the road.
Yeah.
We were just talking to Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke, and you know they worked with Dave on the last, and just
Yeah.
the vibe that he brings into the small amp vibe and the room. It just seems like he's the kind of guy that is not a producer, but someone who gets in there with you and wants to collaborate and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
not just put his stamp on it, but like
No,
really
he
be a part
joins
of
the
it.
band.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool. That must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good fun. But yeah,
You could have said good, clean fun. But,
I'm not that quick.
you said
now.
heavy metal.
That was my one.
All right.
That was my one pun. That one was good enough. You don't want to get me going with the puns.
Oh no,
Guys,
we
we
won't.
really do appreciate
Hey.
Of course.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you
Kill
so
it
much.
tonight, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
you.
Devin.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Allman Betts crew and Gibson Guitars for giving us their time today. Thanks to Devon and Duane for sitting down with us to talk about carrying on their family's name. Please remember to like and subscribe for more content like this. And for all your gear needs, head over to AmericanMusical.com.